Anthony Albanese's got a Trump problem.
Albo will be fine. He loves the American president.
Tony Abbott is not the least bit interested in fixing anything.
Bob Rumson is not the least bit interested in solving it.
He's only interested in two things.
He is interested in two things.
Unfortunately for the Prime Minister, he's not going to be dealing with Michael Douglas.
Making Australians afraid of it.
Making you afraid of it.
And telling them who's to blame for it.
And telling you who's to blame for it.
He's going to be dealing with an entirely different sex addict.
Grab him by the pussy.
Albo's on the record saying the idea of a Trump president scares the shit out of him, so we'll have to do some fast talking ahead of the inauguration. I'm sure he'll be okay. His presentation skills have improved dramatically since he was sprung parroting that Hollywood movie.
Sorry, I'm not sure what it is.
Irrelevant really, because the PM's got bigger problem than plagiarism. Australia's man in Washington is trying to walk back derogatory remarks he made about the Donald a couple of years ago.
The most destructive president in history.
According to a since-deleted tweet in which Kevin Rudd also says, he drags America and democracy through the mud. He thrives on fomenting, not healing, division. He abuses Christianity, church and the Bible to justify violence. The embassy belatedly tried to bleach the comments from the internet, but no amount of white king could do the job. So they came up with a more innovative diplomatic strategy codenamed Two Kevs.
Two Kevs.
There are actually two Kevin Rudds.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
One is the Kevin Rudd who worked as a private citizen for the Asia Society think tank after being arseholed as Prime Minister of Australia. The other is Kevin Rudd, the Australian ambassador to the United States of America. Two completely different people, and the latter doesn't necessarily prescribe to the views of the former.
That's the plan?
That's the plan.
Wow.
We'll call that Plan B.
There is no plan B.
Just f***ing hopeless.
Even if there was, it wouldn't matter because Donald Trump is not the kind of guy to let bygones be bygones.
I don't know much about him. I heard he was a little bit nasty.
And when he re-drains the swamp, Kevin 07 could get sluiced out with the rest of the muck by Trump's new plumber.
Take over, Elon!
One of Elon's first orders of business post-election was reinstating a proper gun emoji on X, an act which will have likely upset WA Police Minister Paul Papalia. Paul thinks there are too many guns in the world and is on a mission to get rid of some of them. There are more than 300,000 weapons across the state, and he's had his picture taken with just about every one of them.
300,000 does seem pretty ridiculous.
We love our guns. Paul decided he was going to disarm WA, but he's now busy trying to get the shit back into the horse because his much vaunted, often talked about, regularly hyped firearms laws are turning into a public policy debacle. The wheels started falling off the wagon pretty early on when Paul released an alarming map showing just how many guns were littering suburbia. Problem is, any gun thief who cared to zoom in realised the map was an easy-to-use guide on which houses to break into.
Where is my gun? We sold it!
Then the voluntary gun buyback, launched ahead of the new laws coming into effect, turned into a bit of a fizzer. Headline stat looked okay, close to 40,000 guns surrendered, but many of them were defective and small calibre.
Always look on the bright side of Parliament.
While the buyback was fizzing away, WA Police decided they didn't want to wait for the new Firearms Act to actually go into effect, so started seizing weapons from soon-to-be disqualified people immediately.
Jump the gun. Tough crowd.
Then it emerged that some of those disqualified people included just about anyone who had even looked sideways at a cop at any point in the past 30 years. Not surprisingly, the affected licence holders, who are of the "you can take my gun when you can prize it
from my cold, dead hands,"
appealed against so-called revocation orders, and also, not surprisingly, they're winning. The State Administrative Tribunal is ruling against the cops, saying some of those revocation orders are invalid because legislation hasn't received royal assent.
We must all ask ourselves when to exercise those things that are within our power and when not to.
The police have come out of the blocks too early. Appear to be confused by the law.
I'll tell you who else is confused.
America?
Yeah.
Apparently so. Americans are hitting Google to get the answer to one question at the moment. What's a tariff? After endorsing a guy who said a trade war would fix the economy, they're about to experience buyer's remorse after realising they won't be able to buy cheap stuff imported from floating islands of garbage. I'm Ben Harvey.
No takesy backsies.
For more update, click the subscribe button below.